Okay, module 22.3. This is actually 22.3, 22.4, and 22.5. They're all related. 22.4 and 22.5 are actually pulling data off these other spreadsheets. So when you do them, that's where you dig it. And don't worry about doing a cell reference. I'm perfectly happy you put just transferring the numbers over, because I believe the download has them in. I think they're in separate spreadsheets. They've been split up from previous edition of the text. All right. So here's a few things that you need to know to address in this. All right. Looks like a whole lot of stuff here. Well, sort of, but most of this is not very difficult, and you're going to plug things in. All of this yellow space you will not be using. This is, I think this is meant to induce panic and to see if you will jump off a very tall building. You're only going to use about a third of it, so let's don't freak. Just follow the instructions. This column, that one, fiscal health. All right. Here's what you're going to do here in this fiscal health. You aren't going to do anything here until you fill out these. Personally, I think this should have been over here, because what this is going to do is total these. All right. So, I don't care, but you feel free to, if you just have to, and your OCD is causing you to freak a little bit, well, feel free to do it like this. You can put in the equals sum. Now, this is a little different because we are not going this way, we're going this way. So it'll be this to this. You're going to close the bracket, and that will be that, all right? If the number is 0, the number it's going to put a little hyphen in there, all right? When all of this is filled out, as you put these in, this number will be increasing because you've already told it to add. The fiscal year starts in July and ends in June, which is not unusual. Remember, a calendar year is always January 1st to December 31st, right? So fiscal year, typically a fiscal year will run July 1 to June 30th, and that is what they're using here. Now, having said that, let me drop this little bit of knowledge on you, just lest you think that that is your only options. There is no law, no rule, no regulation, or anything else that says you have to do it that way. You elect when you start doing things is what your fiscal year is. By convention meaning that, hey, we've just done this a long time and we've done it 2 different ways. Feel free to choose one because that's what everybody else is doing. You can start your fiscal year on April 11th if you like, and close it on April 10th. It's entirely up to you. You have to elect it when you set these things up. Typically, municipal bodies, governmental agencies, typically do July 1 to June 30th. Mostly because I really think it probably has something to do with like schools and so on. That's typically when their budgetary year runs, and so we just do it all like that. But I don't want you to think that's the only ways it can be done, because that is not true. So if you do happen to see one that doesn't look like this, or isn't January to December, it's okay. I mean, you can do that. All right. So here, now anything that doesn't have a entry, you just stick a 0 in it. So if you're not putting anything in there, put a 0. Otherwise, you'll see falses in here for, let's just say, for example, we're going to take supplies in August, and there are no supplies being used in August, so that will show up as true, and put the little hyphen in there. All right, this hyphen is important. This freaks people out, don't know why. Ideally, here's what will happen when you do this. These have, like you see the cell says check, all right? And interestingly enough, there's another one here that says variance, all right? So check. If what you have tallied up here, from July to June, if July to June equals your fiscal year total, what you budgeted, this should have a hyphen in it. All right. So effectively, what that formula looks like, and this again, this is not difficult, but I couldn't tell you how many people it just freaks out. All right. So we want to do the math. We want to add this through this, same as we did over here. Close the brackets. Then we want to subtract that from that. And all of these added together should equal this. If they do not, something is off on your is off on one of your you got a number transposed or something. It's this used merely is to check that what you budgeted out here equals what you budgeted here. All right. So here is your aggregate. Here are your 12 months, and that needs to equal that, and that's how you check it there. Any other number comes up, that's how much you're off, either above or below what you said here you were budgeted for your total. Variance works the same way here. You're going to add these, and then you're going to add these here, put that here, and you're going to subtract that from this, and it better come up to a hyphen. If it doesn't, you've got a mistake, because you appropriated $400,000, and it turns out you're not allowed to spend more than $400,000. So what you allocated better equal what was appropriated. This is sort of the same thing that happens in 12.1, the legislative budget that you started with, that big long honking thing you had to fill out. Sort of like that, because in there, it says that the number, there's a number that it has to read 0. All right. Well, the 0 in this case will be represented by a hyphen. All right. So you get all of this information. What you need to fill this out, you're going to get this from the instructions. So you'll notice in your instructions that it says Brookville has completely approved your proposed budget of $400,000 for the fiscal year starting July 1st with no reductions. That's a miracle. Prepare your annual budget by object code and month using the following guidance. All right, object code, that's what this is, and by month that's what that is. All right, so you got $400,000 to work with. That's what's appropriated. What you're going to deploy by object code: regular pay, benefits, general supply, service contract, training, and equipment. Subtotal, 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 and then all expenditures. So this would be a subtotal 9 and add this, subtotal 9 and add the 1, subtotal 9 and add those 2, and so on. And then when you subtotal this, it ignores that, and that, and then this gives you what regular pay, benefits, general supply, service contract, training, equipment add up to here. All right. Or actually here, whoops, sorry, click too low. Now, that should equal this. If it does not equal this, you have a mistake, because you weren't given more money. Now, some of the information you're given, you can fill right straight across the board. It tells you that salaries are $23,000 per month. All right, so every month, you quite simply plug in $23,000. Right across the board. And actually, I'm going to show you how. I'm going to go ahead and do this just to show you how. See if it'll actually let me do this. And of course not. All right. New and improved. Thank you. All right. So we will stick in 23,000 the hard way, and we will endeavor to get all the zeros in place, because that will definitely. In fact, you know what? I'm going to leave that out. We're going to correct that shortly. I'll let this demonstrate why this procedure works. Pop that out, and in April, more 23,000, 23,000 there, and 23,000 there. All right. Now here in your fiscal year total, you know that at 23,000 per, so actually it might even be easiest to do it like this. We'd say 1,000 times 12 months, because that's actually what it works out to. All right. So you're going to deploy $276,000 in regular pay, $23,000 a month for 12 months. All right. But look over here. You're $20,700 short, so that should be zero, because adding this up should equal this. So you go back and you look, and we dropped a zero. Put the zero in, and ta-da, that variance goes away. Because that's what this is. This is essentially a variance. All right. Call it a check, but it's designed, the check is designed to be zero if you've done it correctly. All right. So those are all set. You know that's right. Benefits. Now you've been told in your since the benefits total 15% of salaries each month. All right. Well, in this case, your benefits should be 15% of this. Oops. Let's just do this. Equals that times 0.15. And that means that for the year, you're expected to expend $41,400 in benefits. All right, so across the board, it's simply going to be equals the monthly stuff times 0.15, that being the percentage of benefits, and you'll do this right across the board. And then with the check, you'll do the same formula you did here. All right, only you're going to use the row 6 instead of row 5. So feel free to copy and paste and just change the numbers from D5 to D6, O5 to 06, and C5 to C6. And right down the line, these should come up with hyphens, check boxes. All right, now here again, my ta-da. I'm going to subtotal. Give it to me. Will be use the 9 switch, and then it's going to be this to this, and we shall close the brackets, and there we are. All right. So now, and it agrees, you're going to have total personnel costs of $317,400, and we're going to do this across the board for the supplies. You're told that general supplies are purchased. Pay attention to the verbiage here. All right. They're purchased at the beginning of each quarter and total $400 per quarter. All right. How do your quarters run? Well, a quarter of a year is 3 months, so at the beginning of every 3-month cycle, you're spending $400. Therefore, you're going to spend $400 in July. 3 months later, so 2, 3. You're going to do it again. 2, 3, and once more. 2, 3, and then we're going to do it again. All right. Now you know that from the stuff that said that to be fully graded, all cells must contain entries. 0 value should be entered at 0. So since nothing goes in there, we'll just stick zeros in. Notice that those turn into hyphens, and trues populate like bunny rabbits. All right. That's straight up. That's easy. How you do this here. You can just, it's by quarter, so you can simply say equals 400 times, 4 quarters. And I'm not fussy even if you lay it out by this equals D8 plus G8 plus J8 plus M8. So if you end up changing these, and things would automatically recalculate this. And again, you do the same thing over here that you did up here, just change the numbers. And this should have a hyphen in it if adding these up equals this. All right? And again, with the subtotal here, so, and you're going to do this right straight down the line. Now, it says there's 2 service contracts. And one for your website's host and development is paid in 2 parts, $15K in December, $25,000 in June. And so your web host, you're gonna write out the payments in December and in June. So December has a payment, June has a payment. Your second contract's for data analysis. Payment on the contract is only due in January for any amount of $2,000. So all you're doing is whatever it gives you for when things are paid, you just plug them in the appropriate month and do the math in each one so that you can ensure that these come up wrong. And anything where you don't put in a number, put in 0 per this line, right? All right. So again, true should come up all over the place. Let's see. And some of these, it may be the same, yeah, I'll deal with that later. Let's see, there may be some of these goes in places that, in this case, Director of the Department attends a national conference every October. Their training, which includes travel budgets, $3 grand for the conference. All right, well, under the training line, you know, you got to go over, find the October, would be here, and you plug in the amount that goes in there, all right? And once you fill out everything, anything that doesn't have a number in it, put in the zeros, get these lined out. So now you're looking at, you get down to, let's see, this line is for new technology. That will go under your equipment expenses. And you plug in the cost $36,000. Transition should happen in February. Should happen in February. Budget for it in February. And again, if it doesn't happen in February, you budgeted for it. Maybe it happens in March or April. Maybe it happens in January. But you budgeted for it when you expect it to happen. All right. And it says that when you fill all of this out, do all the additions here, same subtotals across the board, and then add these up. Subtotal this, then you subtotal these, and then do the same math here, and that should all come up with this should come up with a hyphen, and that is this spreadsheet. Now, exercise 22.4 and 22.5 will use data off this spreadsheet plus some of what comes in for the next. So in 22.4, so I'll keep sucking on some lemonade here. 22.4, you've got a fairly straightforward spreadsheet to work with. And really all you're looking at is this this July to November entry. And so you need to plug in appropriate data, because what you're going to do is you're just doing a piece of the other spreadsheet to do the year-to-date budgeted, year-to-date actual, the variance, and then the percent variance. This is very similar to what you did in the previous week's spreadsheets, where year-to-date, here's what you budgeted for this, all right, which is just this, and this. It's a 5-month period, July, August, September, October, November. So you add those up, that's what you budgeted. Then you figure out what you actually spent, or what your actual was. You budgeted your actual. Well, since the regular pay is $23,000 a month, they tell you that your actual is actually that. But in the instructions, and you're going to find out there's some. They're going to tell you the regular pay is $115,000, benefits were $17,250, general supplies were $780. All right. Well, you can tell this from here, 400 and 400. When you add that up, you budgeted for $800. You only spent $780. So you would put 780 in here. Then you do the variance, which is the actual minus the budgeted, and then the percent variance, just like we did before. So like here, these are exactly what you budgeted. All right, so you're actually going to come up with the dollar amount that you want. These should just be a hyphen. Percent variance will be a 0.0 because you budgeted that, you spent that, and there you are. All right. So your total personnel costs, as you plug this in, this is going to come up. This will be $34.50 across the board. Now this references the spreadsheet, but the number's actually not right there, so you'd have to put in the 34. Just go ahead and put in the 34.50. Come on. Well, there's a problem. It's not actually plugging it in there, so if that's not coming up the way you want it, ignore that. That's an error in the spreadsheet. Put in the actual amount that's in there and do the numbers, and everything will come up perfectly, I assure you. So all you're doing is looking at what the book tells you, what your actual expenditures were, and then you do the variance, percent variance, just like we did in the earlier numbers. Now, here's the thing: there's a way of determining whether or not this variance is something you should look at, and these are using what they call if-and statements. And if you want to follow that, through the book and do this, go ahead. I'm going to show you what one of those actually looks like. The supplies, like here, they're doing these references, and that's actually make that go away. And it actually, this is what that statement will look like. And they ask you to use those down in here. And this is just simply changing, this is actually just changing the number. So when you plug in the supplies information on your year-to-date to actual budget, so on, it tells it whether or not to actually do the calculation. Like in this, it's saying if the year-to-date budget, year-to-date actual don't actually have a number in it, then return 0. If they have something in them, then do the math and put that number in here. All right, so that's, let me show you how service contract. Is that the one I put in? I think this is, let me move that, move that down, service contract, 40, move it down here, so I can actually plug in a number, show you what this would be like. So like I say, if year-to-date budget and actual are 0, then put in 0, because otherwise you would return an error. This is basically how it says, don't show me an error. So if it's wrong, say darn. If it's okay, then do the math. In this case, under service contract, you're told in the instructions that you had a $15,000 expenditure, and so you didn't budget for it. All right, there's nothing in this 5-month budget for that, so your variance is going to be equals this minus, equals what you budgeted minus what you spent. Oops. Minus what you spent. So it ends up with this. So this, did I do the, that one actually is the one for the earlier one. Drop that down and put 10 in there for row 10. Hey.
Let me know when.
All right, so so it shows that you're at 100%. Now this earlier one, where I like here for the general supplies, Control V. Give it the rest. Quit trying to help me, because you're wrong. All right. All right. So this would show 0 until you actually put the year-to-date in here, and like you budgeted 800, which is 400 plus 400, right? You're going to add that up. You're going to sum this here. I'm just plugging in directly, do the sum, and then year-to-date actual. They tell you spent 780, and therefore you know that. So now you need the variance, and the variance is simply equals what you budgeted minus what you spent. All right, so then now the if formula, see, it returns nothing until you actually have a variance. All right, so if you don't have numbers in here, there can't be a variance because you're comparing actual to budgeted. But once you do and you know the variance, then this statement, this if statement, will actually do the calculations. All right. So you can put these in all these cells. Exact same statement. You just change the number of the line that you're calculating. And so if there is a variance, a budget, actual, a variance, then it'll tell you what the percent variance is, right? And it'll just do it automatically. You don't have to figure out, why you're off. And then, of course, down here, you're simply going to sum this up. Now, there's a question for a text answer. Based on your plans or anything concerning your director needs to know. Well, when you come up with variances that are pretty significant, yeah, that's probably something your director needs to know, because there were expenses you didn't budget for. All right. So that's pretty much 22.4, and 22.5, quite frankly, is the same thing. It's just using 6 months worth of the data, and you do the same thing here, only for 6 months. All right, pretty straightforward. If you have any question, have any problem doing this, let me know. But like what I said in an earlier video goes. You figure what you budget versus what you actually spent. This is the dollar amount that you were off, either positive or negatively, and then the percent that you were off. And this is the one that really should trigger an interest. The higher that number is, the more off you are, the more you need to look into it and find out what was wrong, and then notify somebody higher up the food chain. All right?